Great. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for coming to the workshop. So this is a CV workshop, and a lot of you are asking, what is a CV? So a CV is a curriculum vitae, or it's known as a CV or a vita. It's just a comprehensive statement of your educational background, teaching, and research experience. So in a lot of ways, it's like an expanded resume. It looks kind of scary when you look at them because they can be kind of lengthy and they can have a lot of different information on there, but we're going to break it down so it's not scary at all. And the first thing that I thought we should do, because this is sort of a unique situation in that your guys' CVs are going to be up on the website for people to view, and they're not just going to be for job hunting purposes or something like that. So I think it's important that we sort of know our audience and know what they're looking for. I was going to break you guys into smaller groups, so we'll just work together on just the two main audiences being medical professionals and participants that might be looking at the CVs. So those are our two audiences. And then we're going to think about these 4 different questions. So we'll start first with medical professionals. And these are the 4 questions. So what's the first thing that you guys feel like medical professionals might want to look for in a CV?
Level of education.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so education will be important for them.
Any licensing or credentials.
Okay, great.
Years of experience in the field.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Any specialties, perhaps? Mm-hmm.
Okay, specialties. So those will all be things that'd be important for them to see then as well. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. And how long do you think that you'll be able to hold their attention?
10 seconds.
10 seconds,
Yeah.
30 seconds. Okay.
Short, yeah.
Short, probably. Even if they're coming to our website with the purpose of, I want to look through some CVs, it probably still will be short. Mm-hmm. I always tell people as a recruiter, I usually spend maybe around 20 seconds on a resume, usually shorter, at least for the first go round, because I might see 100 of them during a day. So it sort of depends, but it might not be a very long length of time that you have their attention. And then any things on the CV that a medical professional might see that might make them not even want to continue reading, or maybe they leave our website?
Grammatical error.
Okay, possibly.
I would guess anything that's not research or evidence-based.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or maybe anything that's not relevant either.
Not relevant.
Seem like a joke.
Right, if you have I was working at Starbucks, then yes.
Mm-hmm.
Good, and I would say maybe how professional it looks as well. Mm-hmm. Right, if you have, it's sort of like jumbled or all over the place, or like clip art or something strange, they might, which you'd be surprised, but sometimes happens. Yeah, okay, what about for participants? How might that change? So what's the first thing that they might look for, or what might be important for them to see?
Interesting. I think the years of experience is still important.
Mm-hmm.
And the credentials initially, they might not know what all the letters mean, or like specifics.
Mm-hmm.
They like to see something saying that you're either certified, depending on what your job is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think specialties again, so
Yes.
to connect on. If they have a certain diagnosis and you have a specialty and a certain diagnosis.
Yeah, similarly, I was thinking about some of the associations or memberships that you guys might have. Mm-hmm. I think that feels maybe nice to see for a participant, like they're a certain member of something that feels relevant to what I'm going through.
Mm-hmm. Or volunteer stuff.
Yeah, even volunteer stuff. Yeah, there might be more of an element of looking at sort of more of the human aspect and for participants. Great. Anything that they would see on a CV that would make them want to stop reading or not come to Wellness House?
That would make them stop, you said?
Mm-hmm.
I can see it going on both sides of the spectrum. So if it starts to get too complicated with a bunch of titles and words that don't make sense, I think people would shut down. on the same hand, if it, I think it has to feel, the participants, they have to connect with how is this going to help me, because they're frankly looking for what's in it for me, what's going to help me in the fight of my life. So if it starts to feel like it's taking them down a path that's no longer relevant to their situation,
Right.
then I think that might be a cutting off point as well.
Yeah, I agree. That again, you're going to want your most relevant information right at the top. How long do you think you'd have their attention?
Not very long.
Yeah,
Maybe about
probably
the
not
same,
maybe
about the
long.
same, yeah.
Maybe longer if they're really, invested in it.
Much longer, yeah.
Right. Okay. Great. Well, my other two audiences, just so you guys know that I had also identified, were just partners, partner sites or partners that we might work with, and also potential coworkers. Maybe that's contract people that might be looking, or if we're hiring for a role, sometimes people will go on and see, who they might be working with their CV too. So something to keep in mind as we're writing these.
Kelly, one thing I consider after you and I looked at this briefly yesterday, and I don't know if this is relevant or not, but one of the potential audiences that we also recognize as donors, if they're looking at us holistically as an organization, and again, looking at the expertise and credentials of our staff, which is obviously very impressive,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Look at it.
No, absolutely. I think so as well. And so I think all of it in common means that we need to make sure that we get all our information where people can see it quickly, and that it's relevant and it's really active, sort of engaging content. So keep that in mind as you're writing. Let's see. So grabbing and holding the reader's attention. So like you guys said, it needs to be clear, easy to read, and have consistent formatting. I never use templates in Word for resumes or CVs. I just think they're too difficult to work with, and if you have to come in and add more information, sometimes that formatting can get wonky on there. And honestly, it's not necessary, because a really clear resume or CV is going to be better than a complicated one that it's all formatted sort of strange anyways. So I honestly just use bolds, underlines, and capitalizations to highlight different sections, and that seems to work great. So that would be my advice, is to not use one of the templates that they give you in Word. And then when we talk about consistent formatting, so then yes, you're going to want to make sure that all your if you're using bullets, you're actually using bullets throughout. You're not switching between stars and boxes, and your spacing looks correct, so it looks clear through all the way throughout. And that'll make it easier to read too for people. No spelling or grammar mistakes, and a lot of times you'll want to make sure you send that to a friend, or you send it to a coworker, or you send it to me, because we all make them to take a look at. Another sort of grammar mistake as well is just making sure your tense is consistent if you're using, you're in your current job, right, versus past positions. And you want to put your most relevant and strongest information at the top. So when you first look at a page, and especially for somebody who might read a lot of CVs, like a medical professional, your eye is going to be drawn towards basically the top, and a lot of times the top left. So I would put your strongest information there. And it might be different for different people. And we'll want to keep sort of consistent formatting for all of you guys across the team. But it might be sort of different what you want to highlight, whether that is, a certification, or if it is education or something like that, possibly research or something too. We'd have to sort of look at what's your strongest piece, and we'll put that right up front. Again, if you grab people's attention for 5 or 10 seconds, you'll want to make sure they at least see that part of it. And then make sure you're using an active tone. That should be and. That's a mistake right there. So no responsibilities included, and then listing all their responsibilities. You don't want to say something like the task was completed. You want to lead with an active verb. So I'll show you more what that will look like in the next couple slides. So action verbs. One of the things that I gave you guys was a list of action verbs. here, and there it's a double-sided. There are tons of them, and we're always drawn towards certain ones. We tend to use them a lot, and so like I know I use developed all the time. So it gives you a lot of different options that you can use when you're looking at your responsibilities and you're looking for an action word there. And then the other really big thing that I would say will definitely strengthen your CVs and make it seem like we are smart professionals who have a lot to offer is using data to back it up. And data looks, you know, very different depending on what we're talking about, but a lot of times we can find a piece of data to back something up, and it makes it that much stronger for the reader. So let's practice. So this is something that could be in my CV, right? It comes from my job description, and it's a responsibility of mine. Responsible for recruiting new volunteers for the organization. What do you guys think could be better about that statement if I was to put it on my CV?
Stating like the percentage or the number of volunteers per year or something like that.
Yep, saying how many volunteers we have. Absolutely.
I think you could change responsible for to a more active word, like just recruit new volunteers or actively recruit new volunteers for the organization.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? One of the nice things about a CV too that I should say is that you get some more flexibility in some ways, because for resumes they're shorter, right? So when I'm writing a resume, that might be very similar to what I might put on a resume. When I'm writing a CV, you get more page length and you get to be more in depth. Sometimes CVs can look like bulleted, lists of your responsibilities, and sometimes people will write them more in paragraph form. Either one is okay. I would say we should probably do bullets just because I think that's easier to read. But the nice thing about that is that you can really expand this out, and you can, add different responsibilities to one of your bullets. So let me show you what it looks like now, how it stands on my CV. So develops, attends, and evaluates year-round volunteer recruitment activities, including public speaking, volunteer events, and connecting with local organizations, effectively doubling active volunteers from 270 to 240 in 10 months. So there is data there. It's slightly different than the data you suggested, which I think shows that actual recruitment piece that I'm getting at, right? And so that wasn't obviously maybe a piece of data that I would track regularly, but it's something that I could figure out, right? How many volunteers I had and how long it took to get to that point. And then I also get to add, sort of different areas of recruitment within this one bullet point, so that people get an idea of exactly what it is that I'm doing and what it is that I go to and attend in order to recruit volunteers. So it becomes like a much more active, interesting bullet point, right? So I gave you guys this packet here, which is the nitty-gritty of like, what do I need to put on my CV, right? It has your basic sections and your optional sections. I actually have this up on the screen here so I can show you guys too. Oops. Wonderful. So this will serve sort of as a template for you guys to know what it looks like to have a CV. And if you look on the next pages, there's two different CV samples here. And there's one for Rachel and there's one for Juan. So you can take a look at both of those, and they're set up a little bit differently. I kind of like the second one a little bit more, only because I think it looks slightly more like a CV and more professional, whereas Rachel's kind of reminds me of a resume. But you can see how they look different. And both of them started with their education first, and then they went into their experience. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this, and we can talk about more specifically if you guys have trouble organizing your information. You can start chronologically and start with your most recent experience. You can also group them, like if you wanted to do clinical experience and teaching experience or something like that, you can do that too. You usually do about 10 to 15 years back in your CV. Or less, right? If you, you don't want to put your high school or what you're doing during college if it wasn't relevant. You just want to start with your most relevant experience. And you can always summarize experience as well. So if you wanted to go back farther than that, you can say in a paragraph like this, past experience at the bottom, and then sort of summarize what you were doing before that, if that's helpful as well.
Would you bullet that or use a paragraph?
You can paragraph it, yes. That's probably how I would do it, so people can sort of recognize that it looks different. Let me take a look through this. So, and then you'll also have, if you have any publications, you can add them on there. You cite them like you would in any paper, so like APA style would be great. Any presentations that you've given, and these, you have a little bit of freedom with this. So yeah, presentations, if it was for the nutrition fair or something like that, that's all great information that you could put on your CV. So just think about that more for during your school experience. Maybe you guys attended a conference and gave a talk with your classmates together, things like that. That's all presentations that could go on there as well. Honors or awards. And references. I don't know if we'll do references or not. Well, that'll be something we'll have to think about.
Yeah, I would think in this case, no,
Yeah.
because that would normally be included when you're seeking